Everybody has to pay Yud Aleph, right? Yud Aleph. Okay. I want to thank the Parnes HaShavua, Joyce and Shlomi Lederstein, Schus für Rafur Shlema Vesender, Aryeh Ben Liba Zelda, Rafur Shlema Soshach Al Yisrael.
Amen. You don't have the last name.
Fine. Okay, we're on page test, at the bottom of page test. That's where we're up to. We're learning a mimer from Rabbi Tzimaya for Shovavim, and to begin talking about the sugya of Kedushas Einayim. I wanted to begin with the Rabbi Tzimaya way. And then we'll go more into the actual sugya to learn it more of a regular limud. But I felt it's the ruach that should be the makif of all that we're doing with Kedushas Einayim before we go into the limud of it and what the eyes are and how they're affected and so on. Should be with this mimer, this Torah. So we're learning about Ki Meitzeischa Me'eretz Mitzrayim. That's where we are now. I mean, the truth is, as we learned last week, that Ki Meitzeischa Me'eretz Mitzrayim, it doesn't say Ki Yom, but Ki Meitzeischa. Ki Meitzeischa means, like the Tanya says, that every single day of our lives, it's not just that we once left; it's an ongoing process. we got through the gate to leave Mitzrayim, but the avodah of Yitzias Mitzrayim, and what that means is Ki Meitzeischa Me'eretz Mitzrayim. It goes from Yitzias Mitzrayim until Ki Meitzeischa Me'eretz Mitzrayim, Eren the flows, which is Mashiach. That's the end. It's one ongoing process. That's what we're talking about. And during this time of the year, the Ariya Kodesh and other tzaddikim reveal that there's a tremendous siyata d'shmaya hashpah of Ki Meitzeischa Me'eretz Mitzrayim, of getting out of the Meitzorim, of that Ervas Haaretz in particular, Gam Habris, that tumah that was embodied and manifested more than any other place in the world in Mitzrayim. And the beginning of that avodah of Yitzias Mitzrayim is Kedushas Einayim, Taharas Einayim. That's what we're talking about, Taharas Einayim. That's the beginning. And in that context, there are two mitzvahs that we see that the Chachamim chose, that in order for us to fulfill this mitzvah of Zechiras Yitzias Mitzrayim, which means the avodah of getting out of Mitzrayim, the two mitzvahs that the Torah focuses on in the parasha of Krishma, where there are many parashas that the Torah could have taken for the mitzvah of Yitzias Mitzrayim, because it's all over the Torah. But they dafka inserted into Krishma that we should be yotze the mitzvah of Yichud Hashem by saying the parasha of Zechiras Yitzias Mitzrayim with tzitzis and tefillin. Dafka tzitzis and tefillin. And that by both of these mitzvahs, that the nekuda hapnimis of these two mitzvahs is Kedushas Einayim. Risam also schartem. Zechira comes through the Taharas Einayim. Risam was the tzitzis, to see the tzitzis. And the tefillin is the tatofas bein einecha. So none of these things are coincidences. Like the Baruch wanted that we should say dafka, these parashas, and the Chachamim pulled that down with the Ruach HaKodesh. These are the parashas of Yitzias Mitzrayim that we need to say every single day of our lives, and that we need to think about more during Shovavim, our tzitzis and our tefillin, as part of the practical package of what it means to work on Kedushas Einayim, to work on these mitzvahs, tzitzis and tefillin, to think about them and not to take them for granted. So we're on the bottom of page test, the end of page test. By Yisoid Yitzias Mitzrayim hu tahara. The meaning of Yitzias Mitzrayim is tahara. Mitzrayim is tumah, and Yitzias Mitzrayim is tahara. And as we've been learning, from the time of Gan Eden, when the downfall was with the eyes, Nachbud la'einayim, the eyes that Adam and Chava saw, and they wanted to eat from the Eitz Hadas Tov. Therefore, the beginning of Tahara, the avodah of Tahara, is the eyes. L'chein himshichu chazal kadosh ma mitzvah kadosh sheitzias Mitzrayim the kobush and the kama mitzvah shel zichus Yitzias Mitzrayim like their parsha shel tzitzis davka. And since Yitzias Mitzrayim means getting out of impurity, getting out of tumah, that's Yitzias Mitzrayim. That meitzar of Pagam Habris, to get out of Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim is Pagam Habris. And Chazal understood that the mitzvah of tzitzis is uniquely connected to that avoda of getting out of that mitzvah. And we see the story in the Gemara that I'm not going to say over the whole Maaseh, but the famous story in the Gemara where there was a person that was about to be nichshel in a terrible way with somebody, with a woman, and his tzitzis reminded him that it's time to, it's time to get out. So we see that there's a koach of tzitzis, and since the word tzitzis is the word tzitzis itself means lahatzitz, means meitzitz, means to see. The word tzitzis means to see. It means it's translated as fringes, but in Pneumius the word tzitzis means uriisa, means to see. Meitzitz, mashgiach manach chalonos, meitzitz manach harakim means to look at something in a very deep way. Tzitzis means to see. So, like that partial tzitzis davka, ki achas me'hashpos ha'ad sumus ad moed, so mitzvah tzitzis, one of the great hashpos. We don't understand why this is, even though we know that we have all the Muslim of the 613 mitzvahs that are wound into the tzitzis. We know this. I don't know when was the last time anybody was making a cheshbon and thinking, oh, there it is, my 613 mitzvahs. I mean, we should be doing that, but there's obviously a special koach that our wearing this has, whether you see them, whether you wear them out or you wear them inside, but somehow that this malbush of tzitzis is for us like the ksainis of Yosef HaTzadik, is a shmira when it comes to this inyan of kedushas einayim of Yitzias Mitzrayim. Ki achas mashpos atzumas ad mod shel mitzvah tzitzis mishal amiras hamilim hakedosh shel haparash hakedosh shel tzitzis, and to try to be careful, especially during this time of the year, that when we say that parasha in Kriyas Shema, we say that parasha v'davar shel Moshe Weinberger v'davar nisva matam mishlam tzitzis, that we should say those words carefully and with kavana. Maboka be'erev, in the morning and the night, the Kriyas Shema alamita, and especially not at Kriyas Shema alamita, because the whole avodah, which we're going to be talking a lot about, which in the time will come, we're going to try to go through the Kriyas Shema alamita piece by piece, according to the Arizal. Kriyas Shema alamita, which is a tremendous koach of kedushas habris. Kriyas Shema that we say alamita when we go to sleep, which the Mekubalim have revealed to us that the ikar inyan of Kriyas Shema alamita is a shmira when it comes to this sugya of kedusha. The Kriyas Shema alamita pa'od zmanim. Next page Yud. Hu ha'inyan shel taharas einayim. It's the inyan of taharas einayim. Lo yisasu achrei levavchem v'achrei einechem. That somehow through tzitzis we connect to Yitzias Mitzrayim, and that connection to Yitzias Mitzrayim means to be able to overcome this taiva of the einayim, of taiva le'einayim, like it says by Chava. It says beferish in the pasuk. Lo sasuach ve'levavchem achrei einechem, achrei levavchem achrei einechem, which is, besides tzitzis, is also a reference to the parasha of tefillin, which is what we also say, which the tefillin shel yad awor and keneged halev, and the tefillin of the rosh is beinei necha. And in this way, v'yisem kedoshim l'lokeichem. That connection to tzitzis and tefillin is v'yisem kedoshim l'lokeichem. Oif heiben the oigen, to lift up the eyes, the madrega achi gevor. To lift up the eyes to a higher madrega. So u'merayim einechem. Ha'hepech shel ra be'einei Hashem. Where are those words found in the Chumash? Ra be'einei Hashem. Who remembers? Where are those words? It's a couple of weeks ago. Where is it? By Erev Einay. By Yehudot's children. We don't have to chazer over what the inyan was over there and what happened with the and Einay. Was it Pagam Habris? So the first place where it says such a lashon in the Chumash, Ra be'einei Hashem, in such a way, you have by Stone, you have that these words on a specific single act, where it says Ra be'einei Hashem. We spoke about that when we were learning the halachas of Kedushas Habris, Pagam Habris, of Shivchazel Levatola, that these words Ra be'einei Hashem, it doesn't say it by Ritzicha, it doesn't say it by Shabbos, it says by the Chet of this Pagam, of the sons of Yehuda of V'Einay, which was Shivchazel Levatola, which was Pagam Habris. It says Ra be'einei Hashem, be'einei Hashem. So lifting up one's eyes is the opposite of Ra Be'enei Hashem. It's a remez, obviously, but we see that in the parsha of Erev Ha'oinen, it says, it uses a lotion of Ra Be'enei Hashem, and the remez is that when a person's eyes are damaged, it leads to this Aveira Pagam, which is called Ra Be'enei Hashem. The avoda of being Tov Be'enei Hashem is the opposite of that. That's all. That the eyes should be good eyes. That the eyes should be pure eyes. When the eyes are eyes that are Ra Be'enei Hashem, that means the opposite is eyes that are Tov Be'enei Hashem, to have a good eye. When we were growing up, to have a good eye meant something else. That's right. When you're playing ball, you have a good eye. It means it was almost a strike, but you didn't fall for it, right? So they said, "Good eye, good eye." They would yell out to you, "Good eye, good eye." So, but the real meaning of a good eye is the eyes of Einei Hashem El Tzadikim, to look at things in a way that's pure. The opposite of Ra B'nei Hashem, that's Erev Ha'oinen. The name Er is the Oisius Ra, and Ra is B'nei Hashem, is this Pagam Abris, is Ra B'nei Hashem. V'hibur shel Ra B'nei Hashem la'gil le'imru tzadik hi tov. The meaning of a tzadik is tov. And the simple meaning of the word tov, like it says by Moshe Rabbeinu, when Moshe Rabbeinu was born, his tov, his name is Tuvia, and Moshe Rabbeinu was tov, and this Malay Habayis Oira, and the meaning of tov there also, it says by Moshe Rabbeinu, the Oir of Moshe Rabbeinu is that he was Noilad Mohul, he was born already Gemalt. Because he was so pure, Ad Kedei Kach, like we see there are certain tzaddikim that they were born already with a bris. And Moshe Rabbeinu was such a tzaddik, that in this Malay Habayis Oira, the tov of Moshe Rabbeinu, it says Kitoivu, that she looked and she saw Kitoivu. Kitoivu doesn't mean that he was cute. Kitoivu means that there was this Or of Kedusha. And the Or of Kedusha of Moshe Rabbeinu was that he was Noilad Mohul. Kedusha's Abris is Moshe Rabbeinu's Kedusha's Abris. And that's why Moshe Rabbeinu himself was misasek with what? The Atzomas of Yosef HaTzadik. Moshe Rabbeinu himself was misasek with that mitzvah. He didn't have the Chevra Kedusha take care of it. Moshe Rabbeinu himself was misasek. Right? Rashi brings down from Chazal that everybody was busy collecting all the money, and Moshe Rabbeinu was misasik with that Thomas of Yosef. Why is Moshe Rabbeinu? He didn't have a gabbai. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't have any gabbai. He didn't have people to help. Moshe Rabbeinu is misasik with that Thomas of Yosef HaTzadik, because Moshe Rabbeinu was the Inyan of Kedushas Habris, and that connection with Yosef HaTzadik is Moshe Rabbeinu himself, because he understood that the Holy Tzir depends on Atzmas Yosef, on our holding on to Kedusha of Yosef HaTzadik. Therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu is misasik with that Thomas of Yosef HaTzadik. And the Holy Tzir depended upon that Asik of Moshe Rabbeinu taking out the Atzomas of Yosef HaTzadik, and Kriyas Yamsuf took place. As Hayam Rav V'Yanais, Hayad and Yisar Lav. Hayam Rav V'Yanais, because it says by Yosef HaTzadik, V'Yanais V'Yetzachutza, because Hayam Rav V'Yanais. So Kriyas Yamsuf is because Yosef HaTzadik. Yamsuf means this world, like the Maralach says. Yamsuf means the Nisyanis of this world. Kriyas Yamsuf is Yosef HaTzadik. To be able to get through the Nisyanis of this world is Moshe Rabbeinu carrying the Atzomas of Yosef HaTzadik. That's the avoda. It's really you need Mashiach ben Dov, Mashiach ben Yosef, but I don't have to go to that right now. This case, Leinaim Toivus, to be Zoich Leinaim Toivus, to have good eyes, Like it says by Moshe Rabbeinu, that when he was born, the house was filled with or, was filled with light. Pchinas or tzadikim yismach. Like it says by the tzadikim, that the tzadikim have this or. The or of the tzadik is Kedushas Habris. Was anybody here besides myself Zocher to see the Satmar Rebbe in person? You saw the Satmar Rebbe in person. So if you saw that face, then you don't need an explanation of whether this is true or it's not true. You saw that face of the Satmar Rebbe. When you walked into the room, there's this Malay Habayis Ori. You felt there was such an awe, and you didn't have to be like a maven. I wasn't a kid. I was like 21, 22. I was there earlier when I was younger also, because I used to go to. But when I sat Yechidus with him, I was at that time right before I was married, so I was whatever, like 21, and you hear these things and what is it talking about? What does it mean? Or what do you mean that tzaddik is? Or what do you mean? If you saw that, then there's something that you can't forget your whole life. That or looking at the Satmar Rebbe's face or something. And I'm not talking against your favorite Tzaddik.
I saw that.
I know. I also saw my Lubavitcher Rebbe. I'm saying this Lubavitcher Rebbe. Yeah, I was saying this Hashem. And I was a Rimnitzer fan, and all the Svardim, the Baba Sali. When I was saying, someone's going to think I'm only talking about the Satmar Rebbe. So you're the man, Mati. I'm talking about the Lubavitcher Rebbe also. I'm talking about at the moment, I'm talking about the hispilus that I remember feeling that when I walked into the Satmar Rebbe's room, and you see that. Of course, I'm by all the tzaddikim. Because what's the kedusha? What's the kedusha of the Lubavitcher? The kedusha of Baba Sal, kedusha of the Rebbe. It's all these tzaddikim. But these tzaddikim, they came from different worlds. But what they all shared in common was this of the tzaddikim. The of the tzaddik. There's no question. Of course, it's by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, all the tzaddikim. And if you walked into a Moshe Feinstein, you didn't see it. You saw Moshe also. I was like, you saw Moshe Feinstein, and you saw Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky. But it's the of the tzaddik, and the of the tzaddik. That of the tzaddik is comes from this avoda of Yosef HaTzadik. That's where the comes from. Or tzaddikim. V'lizkos lo hagon l'shemigia idei naim toivus. L'chein, kevin shetachlis yitzias esvayim hi tahara. Since the whole tachlis of Kimei Tzeischa Me'eretz Mitzrayim, Kimei Tzeischa, the whole tachlis of this avoda of Yitzias Mitzrayim, because Yitzias Mitzrayim is not just a historical event; it's an avoda. Chayav Adam Liros is Atzmo. The tachlis of all of that is tahara, to come to tahara. Lachein kovu Chazal HaKadoshim shenekayim es hamitzvah shel zechiris Yitzias Mitzrayim b'chol yom aydei Parshas Tzitzis. And therefore, Chazal will Keveya to help us with this avodah v'yitzias Mitzrayim. Chazal will Keveya to put it into the context, to bring in that pasuk of tzitzis into the parasha, into these parashas that we say by creation. I mean, the Torah put it there. It's not that the Chacham just will Keveya, which we say it every day, to be makar the mitzvah. Ka'idei yitzias Mitzrayim, idei hakoach she'yitzias Mitzrayim, efshel hagila tahara. Because this is the avodah of tahara, tzitzis, yitzias Mitzrayim. To lift up the eyes, we're able to lift up the eyes. Ev shaliyos v'yisim kedoshim, to come to madrega of v'yisim kedoshim. Ev shaliyos bebechinas kedoshim k'malachaya, to reach the tzaddikim reach a kedusha like a malach. Kamuva b'targim yonison, v'zaoni Hashem l'keichem asher otzeisi eschem eretz Mitzrayim liyos lachem l'lukim. And that's the meaning of how we end Kriya Shema. Ani Hashem Elokeichem, Asher Otzeisi Eschem Eretz Mitzrayim, Liyos Lachem Lelokim. Liyos Lachem Lelokim, to come to this madrega of Liyos Lachem Lelokim, which is V'yisim Kedoshim Elokeichem. And then we end and we say Ani Hashem, Ani Hashem Elokeichem, Ani Hashem Asher Otzeisi Eschem Eretz Mitzrayim, Liyos Lachem Lelokim. The Ani Hashem means that like Cook explains to other tzaddikim, that instead of my eyes being focused on what's outside of myself, which is Pagam Heinaim, where a person is obsessed with everything that's going on around him, instead of what's going on inside of him. So that's how Rav Cook explained that when we say over there, Ani Hashem, means that if you want to find Hashem, the best place to find Hashem is inside of yourself. Ani Hashem. Inside of yourself is Hashem. If you start driving around too much and looking all over the place, then you're going to find Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim is outside. If you're looking for Hashem, Ani Hashem. Ani is Hashem. The Ani inside of oneself is Hashem. And this koach of Yitzias Mitzrayim, of Kedushas Einayim, is mischadish every day when we say the parasha of Tzitzis. Parasha of Tzitzis in Yitzias Mitzrayim. Yom Chodesh shel Shiur me'avinu sheb'shamayim l'taharas einayim. That a person should try to have in mind when we say Kriyashim, especially in the morning, that I'm beginning a new day, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is helping me out, and I should be zeicher to have this siyata d'shmai, that today should be a day of Kedushas Einayim, of Taharas Einayim, that I should see things in a good way, that I should look at things that I shouldn't see things that are not good, I should only see things that are good. Oif haben the Eugen like this is time. Ubechol Shovevim, Kashem Esmalim and Kodesh is time. And throughout these weeks of Shovevim, when more than any other time of the year, besides maybe Pesach, of course, but besides Pesach, more than any other time of the year, we're Mesmalim with these Kodesh of Yitzhak time, Shovevim and Pesach. Avinu Shebeshamayim Armelanu. We should try to hear that Avinu Shebeshamayim is speaking to us, and he's telling us, Bonim Chavivim, my beloved children. I'm giving you Eitzvus Sheyitzis Mitzrayim. My wife showed me last night that in one of the Jewish magazines, we always say that if you want to see what we need to work on, just look at the advertisements, right? So they're advertising a Pesach program where they're having a theme of Mitzrayim. And my wife showed me that they have pictures of like King Tut, and they're going to have them in the lobby of the hotel. That's what they advertise. That in the lobby and throughout the hotel, they're going to be having Egyptian stuff. I don't know. They showed the gold, like the statues. They're going to have. I guess Avodah Zarah. I don't know, but it looks like in the picture. It looks like Avodah Zarah. This was in the magazine. There's a picture of how he sits there. They buried them inside. What they did with over there. The place was such an achsari, so vicious. But how they showed that in the picture that they're going to have. It's said in the thing that they're going to have the entire hotel is going to have the theme of Egypt. That's what they're going to have in the hotel. I guess. And when you leave the hotel, you should think that you're being Yotzei Mitzrayim. I'm not sure why should you go? Why would you want to go to Mitzrayim? We got out of there. And the whole theme is Egypt, not Yerushalayim, not Eretz Yisrael. The theme of they write over there, this will be able to help you to be Mekayim the mitzvah. In other words, come to our program. Bring your family for $250,000. Come to our program, and you will be able to feel what it's like to leave Mitzrayim. Because in the lobby, next to the soda machine, there's a King Tut, and that's how you're going to be able to leave Mitzrayim. I mean, ad kedei kach. This time of the year, it's Eitzvus Shel Yitzias Mitzrayim. Eitzvus Shel Yitzias Mitzrayim. Eitzvus Shel Tahara. Eitzvus of Tahara, of pureness. Aish von Oif Heiben the Eugen, Aish a treasure of lifting the eyes up. Avinu Shebeshamayim Mevakesh Meitan, and a person should try to hear, especially during this time of the year, HaKadosh Baruch Hu asking each one of us, especially when we're saying the parasha of Tzitzis and Kriyas Shema in the morning and at night, and by Kriyas Shema Lamita, to hear HaKadosh Baruch Hu telling us these things. Shenekova Zmanim Lahachin Kelim. That we should try to take time during this time of the year, but to prepare kelim, like we were talking about last night in Shalashudis, the Torah from the Grudgeska, kelim for Yiras Shamayim, Eitzvus of Yiras Shamayim. V'limtzai gedarim b'siyagim. That each one of us should try to think of new gedarim b'siyagim, of a gather and a siyag, meaning fences and prevention, ways to prevent ourselves from falling into those things of where we go and what we look at and where we walk and the things that we're reading. And try to do something practically, not just to say tzitzis, but to think about Kedushas Einayim and to try to create in our lives more gedarim and more siyagim to stay away from things that we shouldn't be seeing. Mahalchem eitzis v'eifanim eich l'shon haba v'men oif hayben the eigen. How this coming year, this year that we're in now, how we can lift up the eyes. Obviously, each person according to his age and his matzav, where he lives, where he comes from, his background, and so on. There's not only mitzvahs, there's also the mitzvah of tefillin. Ki mitzvahs tefillin hilaniach shtei parashiyos shel Yitzias Mitzrayim. These are the parashiyos of Yitzias Mitzrayim that are inside our film, and the parashiyos of Emunah, of Kabbalah's old Shemaim, Kabbalah's old mitzvahs, and so on. These are the parashiyos of Tefillin. But Tachlasi, Liskashli Yitzias Mitzrayim, and the Tachlis of tying on the Tefillin is to be Mekushim to Yitzias Mitzrayim. the Kabul B'chol Yom, ein Spitz Chodesh Yitzias Mitzrayim, to every day a new injection of Yitzias Mitzrayim. Tefillin is an injection, an infusion of Yitzias Mitzrayim. That's what tefillin are. The avod of tefillin is to be mishabed to Hashem all of our desires and all of our thoughts. The tefillin shayad that's worn by the heart, and the tefillin sharayish on the mind, to mishabed our thoughts and our emotions to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Neshama shebemoichim shar chushay v'keichaisai. The neshama that's headquarters of the neshama is in the mind, and all the other chushim and my kaiches guf naki. The din is that when you put on tefillin, you have to have a guf naki. You have to be clean. The body has to be clean. And all the halachas of how a person has to make sure that he takes care of his personal needs before he puts on tefillin, because the tefillin are so holy, and the tefillin are worn on the guf. And the din is there's special din by tefillin more than other mitzvahs should be guf, that it has to be a guf naki. That the body has to be clean. Tefillin biraishai. Doesn't say tefillin al haraish, tefillin biraishai, right? It's not just wearing tefillin on your head, it's the tefillin to being inside of your head. Tefillin shebirosh, not al haraish, tefillin shebirosh, tefillin inside of the head. Ki shem Hashem nikra elecha. The shem Hashem is nikra elecha. It says by tefillin that all of the goyim will see, Ro kol amet ki shem Hashem nikra lecha, and Chazal said it's talking about the tefillin shebirosh. Tefillin minake Yehudi. So not only should we have a guf naki when we put on our tefillin, but we should know that the tefillin themselves are menake Yehudi. The tefillin themselves clean and purify a Jew. The roichet is kol Yehudi. The tefillin have this koach more than any other mitzvah shebaguf to clean and to purify a person. And that the tefillin shel reish and the tefillin shel yad have this ability to be ma'oyer all of the koiches of Yitzias Mitzrayim and to help us become more pure from this tumah of Mitzrayim. Therefore, we see some other amazing things in the parasha of the mitzvah of tefillin. Hein taharas apeh, because the Gemara learns out from the pasuk, Lamati ataras Hashem beficha, kfi sheduba bez Hashem zevashavur shabarichas, that how there are a number of dinim that are learned out from this, which is also found in the parasha of tefillin. Lamati ataras Hashem beficha, that how the tefillin have to be from a behemoth tahira, because it has to be something that's mutar beficha that you're allowed to eat. Somehow, that by putting on tefillin, the Toras Hashem is able to be beficha. So this is referring to, the Svarim tell us that there's a deep connection between, as we spoke about last week, there's a deep connection between Kedushas HaPeh, Kedushas HaDibur, speaking in a way that's pure, Kedushas HaInayim, and Kedushas HaBris. That these three are the Shalosh Kedushas of Miskadshim. These are the three Kedushas of a Jew: Kedushas HaInayim, Kedushas HaPeh, and Kedushas HaBris. And these three are connected. A person whose language, God forbid, is without being guarded, it's vulgar, chalila, obscene, lashon hara. A person whose mouth is unguarded, that is a reflection of a deeper problem with Kedushas HaBris, Pagam HaDibur, Pagam HaLashon, Pagam HaInayim, Pagam HaBris. It's the triumvirate. Those three are inseparable. Each one is connected to the other. And that's why there's a famous teaching, which says, Matzos te'ach b'makom Kodesh, that the matzah should be eaten in the holy place. It's talking about the mincha, it's talking about Beis Hamikdash, but matzah te'ach b'makom Kodesh. So the Tifer Shlomo says that a person should think before you, on Pesach night, before you put the matzahs in your mouth, that the matzah should be eaten in a holy place. It doesn't mean just in Yerushalayim, it means your mouth should be a holy place. Matzahs te'ach b'makom Kodesh. That the mouth of a Jew should be a holy place. And we understand the connection between matzahs. Matzahs means Yitzias Mitzrayim. Matzahs is l'matiyas Toras Hashem beficha. Toras Hashem beficha. K'vi shedubar bez Hashem b'shavur shavarichas v'gam ha'inyan shel taharas einayim. Tefillin is, of course, very deeply connected to Taharas Einayim. So first of all, it's connected to Taharas HaPeh, that the tefillin have to be Minamuta B'Ficha. It has to be something which we're allowed. It has to come from a behemoth tahira that we're allowed to eat, and the Kedushas HaPeh, and also Taharas Einayim, as it says, L'tatofos Bein Einecha, L'Zikaron Bein Einecha, Bein Einecha. Kol HaMoyach VaHalev Misraimim. Through the midst of tefillin, one's mind, the tefillin are worn tefillin shabaresh, but bein einecha, and one's heart, but the tefillin shayat are worn by the heart. The tefillin shayat. Kol hamoyach v'alev misraim mudved rein, it becomes pure. Rein is pure. Reinkeit means pureness. B'chol yain aydei hachana l'hanochas tefillin, aydei limud shel seder chazak lefnei hatefillah, and a very big part of that is for a person to try, if he's able to have a seder of learning before you daven, to make hachanis, not just to fall into the tefillin, but to make hachanis, that it's good to learn. It's a very powerful thing to learn b'hashkama, to try to learn, at least for a few minutes to learn before you daven, before you put on your tefillin, to learn a little bit or more, if it's possible, that there should be a seder of learning before putting on the tefillin, lefnei tefillin. K'sharim l'shem yichud, k'mesha v'shavinu sh'v'shamayim reitza, each person, each person according to who he is, to try to make hachanis, that before you put on tefillin, to make proper hachanis. The mitzvah Kodesh shel hanachas tefillin. The shah shel loivishim hatefillin. Vayidei kol ha'avoid the shaisim hatefillin. Mismalim ba'ois hayam. If a person is very strong with tefillin, making proper hachanis and having good kavanis, when you're putting on your tefillin and wearing the tefillin, Mismalim ba'osim, that entire day becomes filled with Yitzias Mitzrayim Chadash, with new kaiches of Kedusha, of Tahara of Yitzias Mitzrayim. Umekavlim Tahara Chadash, Guf Naki Chadash, Guf Naki Chadash. To start off the day, the Guf Naki Chadash. Shemen al Roishcha al Yechzer Chadash. Shemen al Roishcha, Shemen means also the oil on the Rosh, means remez of the Tefillin Sharosh that the Sfarim bring down, like a king who's being anointed. So we wear the tefillin shabaresh, which is the siman of Melech Malchei Hamlachim that each one of us wears with the tefillin on our heads. And the need of a melech is that a melech is that the person is in control of himself. That the moach is shalat alev, that the moach, the mind, controls the heart. That's what it means malchus. A melech is in control. A melech is the one who's in control. So there's a koch of shemen al rosh when you put on the tefillin shabaresh. That's what I'm saying. It's the opinion of the king being anointed. The king is a person who's in control. So when you wear your tefillin sharosh, that's a tremendous help. That your mind should be able to control your emotions and your desires. Tefillin sharosh. The shanta b'shemen roishi. And the pasuk in Mizmor David, the shanta b'shemen roishi is also a remez of b'shemen roishi is a remez to the tefillin sharosh. Zoh ha'chachma ha'elyonim. Which is the mind, which is that koch of Chachma Ha'Elyoina, which is Zoh HaTahara VaKedusha, Tahara and Kedusha. HaChachma Ilah, Shekol Yehudi Mismale Aydei HaTefillin HaKedosha, Avol Beprotus Nizka Taharas HaPeh Ve'einayim. But we see specifically in the parashas of Tefillin, Taharas HaPeh, of the mouth, Nemanti Atos Hashem Beficha, and the Einayim, Zikaron Be'einecha. Through tefillin, we can help our minds and our hearts to become clean. Halev v'hamoach misraimimim, and the heart and the mind are uplifted. Shezo koicha shel tefillin, which is the koich of tefillin. As I mentioned last night, I told over a Maisa from the Alter Rabbi, which is his yard side, is tomorrow night. The Maisa that with that Jew that was very far, that he drifted very far away from Torah mitzvahs, and he was a descendant of the Baal Tanya. Just repeating, a lot of the Chaburah was there, and he was a descendant of the Baal Tanya. And the Baal Tanya came to him in a dream and said, "What's the matter? Why don't you put on film? How come you're not putting on film?" And he had this when he was sleeping, and then when he woke up, he still had this image of the Alter Rabbi, which was his great grandfather, telling him, "You have to put on tefillin. Why don't you put on tefillin?" And he didn't even have tefillin anymore. He came from a frum family, but didn't have tefillin anymore. He was finished with Yiddishkeit. He married out and everything. And so he went to the. I'm just repeating that he went to the Lubavitcher Shliach there in Antwerp, the Rav there, and he saw that the table was. It looked like the table there was something. There was some sort of a masiba, and he asked what's going on, and the Lubavitcher Rav told him over there that it's today's Chavdal Tevis. So we had a we're Fabrangi today. So this fellow was saying, "You're not going to believe this, but I'm a descendant of the Baal Tanya," and he came to me in my dream last night. He's still talking to me when I'm awake that I have to put on film. So I came to your house to get a pair of film. And now you're telling me this is the yard side Chavdal. This today's Chavdal Tevis, which is the yard side of the Baal Tanya, who's pulling me to your house to get a pair of film to put on for Chavdal Tevis. I don't know if you saw. A couple of the Chaburah sent me. There was a clip of the former Chief Justice of the Israeli Supreme Court. He was a brilliant person who came from home, and he came from Kovna. What's his name? Barak. Yeah, Aaron. Right?
Yes.
So he came from home, but he's been fighting against Yiddishkeit for a long time. And that there was some chaver that were over there by him. I don't know. They went for an interview. Some guys went for an interview, and before they left the interview, I think one of them is a Lubavitcher. I'm not sure. There were two guys that were there from one of the magazines. They did an interview with them to talk about judicial, all the stuff that's going on, all machlokes now in HSL about the Koch of the Supreme Court, of the new government and all the tumult. So they went there and he gave them an interview, and like he is the symbol of everything that's against Torah mitzvahs. Any possible Indian of Torah mitzvahs this man has been fighting against for like the last 50 years. He's fighting against, and he's smart, and he's a very formidable enemy. I don't mean God forbid he's an enemy, but just to use that word, opponent is better. He's a very formidable opponent. He's so smart, and he's fighting against everything with any law, any Allah, of Shmir Shabbos, that is fighting against. And then these two guys went to interview him about that. And then one of them said, I think his name was Stami Zolbavish, he said, why don't you put on film? You want to put on film? I have my film here. And he said, yeah. And you didn't see this clip? And they sent around a clip, and you could see he was like insulted because they were saying with him the parish, and like, I'm not a Jew, I had to say creation, but like they're saying with him. And they have this picture that was going all around of the big misnagid to Yiddishkeit standing there smiling with a pair. Well, he wasn't smiling. He's a Litvish fellow, but he was at least standing there. He's standing there with his tefillin, proudly wearing his tefillin for the whole world to see. And he knew that this is going to go. He knew this was going to get all of the Chaver Tel Aviv crazy. They're probably like they're all tearing up his picture and all. Who knows what they got to him. They already got to him. They got to him. That's like because they're all nervous because that means that they're also going to get it. They're also going to be putting on tefillin soon. That's what's. I mean, if something should go the right way and should be done with seichel. The whole Indian that's happening now at HSL is a gewaldige nace, but we have a history of messing up big opportunities. It's like we're known for that. I mean, big opportunities and messing them up, and there's already a lot of movement of chaver that are trying to mess up this unbelievable opportunity to Mekadesh Shem Shamayim. That if we have now an opportunity to talk to our brothers and sisters there in a way of menschlichkeit and to understand what's hurting them and to work together with them in a way of ne'imus and to be fair and not to steal and to embezzle and do all kinds of games with the money that they have access to, and to do things in a nice and pleasant way, and to help the kids in their schools, the ones that are also not from, and to help them with their schools, and to help all of the chevra to fix the roads and to fix to do. And there's all kinds of good things that can be done. It could be Mekadesh Shem Shamayim, and it shouldn't be Chas V'Shalom. It could be either the biggest Kiddush Hashem now in HSL that could lead to all kinds of big things, or it could be, God forbid, the worst Chil Hashem ever. And that's what I was thinking about. I looked at the picture of this guy putting on film. And it looks like the fellows that were doing it, they themselves, the way it says it, they couldn't believe he said yes. They couldn't believe he said yes. But every Jew was ready to say yes. We just have to, they probably were very nice, and they spoke to him in a Bukovic way, and they went for an interview, and they spoke to him like a mensch. They didn't come in there yelling at him, right? They spoke to him in a Bukovic way. And when you talk to people in a nice way, they put on film. Yeah. They're not against putting on film. You talk to them in a nice way, and they'll put on film, and once he puts on film, So you think this guy, he's a smart guy. When he went to sleep that night, I'm sure he was thinking about that film that he put on. And who knows what that leads to? Which was what the Rebbe's whole malach was. Why Davka did he make such a mitzvah that everybody should put on film? Or the Rebbe went that everybody should go to make this Indian of putting on film. To help pull them out of Mitzrayim, to help Jews get out of Mitzrayim. And he understood with this Ruach HaKodesh that there's such an avodah that even a person who's angry and who's against, but if you could at least get him to put on a pair of film, kulei hai. It can imagine if that's what it can be poil on somebody that's not religious, who's even angry about religion. How could do good things for us? Alachas kama v'kama. How much it could help people like us that we believe in everything, and we're trying to keep mitzvahs. If we think more about how it's filmed when we put on our film, and you see this beferish in the mitzvah of film. The mitzvah Kodesh shel anochas tefillin b'shas shel oifim tefillin v'yidei kol ha'aved shel yismal b'yisayim v'yisis Mitzrayim. That tefillin, nas v'amoich v'alev nikiyim. Halev hamach b'sroim zeh korach tefillin. V'zer v'atz nabishim v'shmayim yiton shavivim. Hu b'bchinas tefillin shel HaShana. Shavivim, these weeks are the tefillin of the year. These weeks are like the tefillin. Kfi shedu b'kam b'pam says in the Svarim, ki shavivim hema b'chinas shel tefillin shel yad shel HaShana. The Svarim say the Shovavim is the Tefillin Shel Yad of the year, and Pesach is Shavuos, and Bechinas Tefillin Shel Rosh Shel Hashanah. That we find in this one. Shovavim is the Tefillin Shel Yad, and Pesach, that whole Hamshech of Pesach and Shavuos, is Tefillin Shel Rosh. Mavur mechidu Shovavim, ki Tefillin Shel Yad v'Shel Rosh, and Bechinas Sichan v'Oig, asher Yoshe b'Ashreis v'Edrei, asher Yoshe b'Cheshbon, shehem lo noisnim sheyasu Cheshbon HaNefesh. Remember, in order for us to get into it, just so we had to get through this tumah, this klipa of cheshbon of sichen and oig. We had to get through this tumah of sichen and oig, and by sichen we spoke about this many times over the years. So that's an interesting name of a place. Where is this place, Cheshbon? Anybody ever take a bus to Cheshbon? You ever take a taxi to Cheshbon? Where's Cheshbon? Because that's what I'm talking about. There are Muslim in all these names, that there's a certain tumah, a klipa. In order for us to get into Eretz Yisrael, we had to get through this klipa of Sichen and Oig Melech Cheshbon. The Melech Cheshbon means that there is this malchus of tumah, the Sitra Achra, that is standing in the way of a person making a Cheshbon HaNefesh. In other words, there's a Melech Cheshbon in the world. This Melech Cheshbon is trying with all of his strength to prevent people from thinking, from making a cheshbon HaNefesh, from making a cheshbon HaNefesh who they are, what they're doing in their lives. That's the Indian of Sichen Oig Melech Cheshbon. This one talked a lot about that. We spoke about it over the years. Melech Cheshbon, Shem lo noistim sheyasu Cheshbon HaNefesh, because they just like we see in this parsha that we just learned in this parsha now in Vayera, that all Paro wanted to do is that when there was a Hisoris, if you see his time, what did Paro do? What was that avodah of Paro? To give us more work. What? To give us more work that we shouldn't think like the Psalm say that we should be so busy. That all Paro, if it would be nowadays, Paro would have given out free new phones to everybody. Every single person would have gotten the latest model of a smartphone. And in this way, you're not going to listen to the Divrei Sheker of what this old Moses is going around telling you all kinds of stuff. You can leave Mitzrayim. You're not going to leave Mitzrayim. And therefore, Paro made a gzeira that there should be less teven and more work. Less teven means less tefuna, less bina. Not to give them teven. Teven means straw. But teven also is the lashon of what? Tefuna, which means bina. Means that all Paro was worried about was that Jews were going to think. Because the second that a Jew has a little bit of seichel, a little bit of tefuna, a little bit of teven, mevin, he understands that this is crazy. That I'm sitting on this thing all day long. That's what Paro wants. Paro wants that a person should be all day long without a cheshbon HaNefesh. And then even when he goes to sleep, he falls asleep like he falls asleep with this thing, he falls asleep with this thing on him. I don't know if that ever happened to anybody to fall asleep with this thing in your hand, or it falls on your heart, or maybe Beni Nechas somehow. Maybe you have two. Some people have two. Falls asleep with two phones, like that's what Melech Cheshbon is, to keep a Jew thinking about other stuff, to keep your eyes and your head and your heart so preoccupied. That's what Paro did. That we shouldn't have time to think about getting out of it. What are you getting out of it? I'm not getting out of it anywhere. And therefore you get buried more. That's what Yaakov was when he said, "Al nosik b'reini b'mitzrayim." I don't want to be buried in Egypt. All Paro wants to do is to bury a Jew in Egypt. And how do you get buried in Egypt? You get the latest stuff, and you get buried in Egypt. You get buried in Egypt. You get buried in work. You get buried in other things. The ikkur is that you shouldn't make a cheshbon nefesh. The whole avoda of Paro is melech cheshbon sich and oig. Right, the oigen, the eyes, right? That you shouldn't look at you shouldn't make a cheshbon of what you're looking at. Oig in his eyes, oig. You shouldn't. And sichon, the samach and the samach and the sin are interchangeable. So sichon therefore is with the samach, but sichon with the sin means speech. Sicha, siach means to talk. The oigen and the peh, the eyes and the mouth. Sichon and oig means the mouth. Sicha is sicha, the samach and the sin, and oig is oigen. And the Indian of being preoccupied with what you're looking at, what you're talking about, that a person doesn't make a cheshbon nefesh b'chlal. But tefillin oizel kol Yehudi, and the tachlis of tefillin is, just one more second, to help every Jew, she'ilu hazmanim shel al ken yom ha'moishlim bo cheshbon. The Indian of Kriya Shema, the Indian of tefillin of B'tzias Zayim, is that a person should say al ken yom ha'moishlim bo cheshbon. A Jew has to say every single day of his life, bo cheshbon. Cheshbon, like Chazal say, bo nasa cheshbon shel olam, nachashev cheshbon shel olam, to make a cheshbon and nefesh. Bo cheshbon, sichon and og. That koach of melech cheshbon is to prevent a person from making a cheshbon. In kedusha, the avodah is bo cheshbon, and that's the inyan of shavim. Sorry, we'll continue with Shana next.